So call me and would you do a roll call for quorum?
Kinsey?
Here.
Parker?
Here.
Logston? Turner?
Here.
Mossberger?
Mossberg.
Mossberg? That's because your name's not written down at all. As far as I'm concerned, you're not starting, so.
But I'm here.
Okay, here.
You'll be called worse on that.
Yeah.
It's not the first time I've been
Probably
called
the
that
next time
either, so we're
I
good.
call vote, I'll just give you a different name.
And item 3, recognition of visitors. Have our city manager with us. And I'm sorry,
That's fine. My name is April Mills. I'm with Plain Plastics.
I knew you looked familiar, but and our airport manager, Greg Murray, and our secretary. Oh, thank you. Oh, Marianne, sorry. Marianne Martin with the newspaper, and our secretary. Item 4, consideration and action to approve the minutes of the December 11th meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We call roll. So we approve the minutes.
Kinsey?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Mossberg?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes. Item 5, the city council report.
City council, when they met in December, aside from all the rest of the council business that normally is discussed, council member Hamilton had asked finance committee and actually finance committee, she's asking for a status on it. It wasn't initiated by her. But with regard to city entities and water meters and accounting for water at the different city entities, so library, rec park, airport, yada yada yada. And the finance committee has asked Mr. Dunham to prepare a performa of sorts that shows what the water usage is and what an impact analysis would be if those dollars were budgeted out to the city entities. So that's forthcoming. It's probably going to be prepared for consideration in the 2018-19 budget. So, other than that, we had a number of business items that have been documented in the newspaper and other places, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Is there any questions?
Oh, we also approved Mr. Mossberg, and I'll introduce Caleb. I know he introduced himself around the room, but Caleb is coming on to fill our vacancy. He'll fill the unexpired term of Corey Washburn, and glad to have him here with us today, and I think he'll make a good board member for us.
Well, Mr. Dunham, do you need to leave?
I tell you what, let me, yeah, if I can go early, I would appreciate it.
If you'll bear with me, he needs to leave. If anybody has any questions for the city manager or anything you'd like to cover, let's do it at this time.
Well, I believe Paul had some questions. Did you have some questions over the handbook, Paul?
I didn't know what you were going to cover in your presentation. I guess my biggest one at rest is, I know in the back in the appendix we have the city ordinance and all that stuff that's applicable to this. Is there a reason that we couldn't also put in the policies that this was approved?
No, there's no reason we cannot put that in here. I just didn't have it compiled where I thought we made good presentation at this time. But there's no reason we can't add the policies in this as we've passed them. I just didn't have them compiled in a word perfect format that I thought it looked presentable.
Right, because if I understand the purpose of this right, this is to assist the
The intent
board.
is for that to be part of this.
Okay, so, because like Mr. Mossberg had no idea.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
we have done and questions and like, and that we need, Mike, and I guess one of my frustrations has been in the past is there's no central place to collect those or to go to look for them.
Right.
Other than individual files, and so
Right.
that was my main question I was gonna ask on that.
Yeah, no, there is no reason that cannot be added to it, and it should be added to it.
On that is, do we want to table presentation for inclusion of those? I can go over the rest of it, as I have with the other boards, but I do think at another time it'd be a good idea for that to be part of the annual orientation as well.
But would you want to table this for this evening and after that's added, reschedule for the next meeting?
I am fine with that.
Do I hear a motion?
I move we table presentation, where is it?
Item number 7.
But it's not an action item, is it?
Oh, it's just presentation.
Yeah, it's just presentation, so there's
Oh,
nothing that needs to be done.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay,
Uh,
see you all.
All right, thanks, Sheila.
We'll proceed to the manager's report, Mr. Lynn.
Okay. As you can see, fuel sales for December were really strong. They totaled $19,291.99. That's up from the month of November, it was $14,701.09. On the maintenance items, I had a leak on the jetty truck bypass valve, it's been fixed. The mechanic had to rebuild the cylinder on it. As you can tell, I had Northwest Electric come out with their scissor lift to replace the ballasts and light bulbs in the terminal lobby that were getting bad. And they changed the old ones over to the new LED lights, so we should have some energy savings on that.
Just all of them, or just the ones that had the
Just in
problems?
the lobby, yeah, not in here,
Right.
just,
But everything out there?
yeah. I think there's 3 over the south that weren't.
Working?
They were okay. I had someone else change those before. Double Check was here today to finish the installation of the new hose reel on a 100 low load pump, and it works really well. I'm very happy with it. I want to let y'all know that the internally lit windsock is here. Northwest Electric said they should be here sometime this week to help me install it. It did come with LED light bulbs, and I received the windsock from Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission, and this thing is huge. It's this big range.
We should be able to see it on one.
You should be able to see.
So,
Todd, I'll be happy.
yeah, we will.
This one is really hard to see.
When you say install it, is it just the framework for the sock and the lights? Or is there a pole also?
Well, no, it goes on, it'll screw onto this pole out
And
here.
is the pole sufficient to withstand a 36-inch one? Because we've doubled the size of the sock
It's
now.
a 1-inch pipe.
Right. You got a lot more wind
And that's
blowing.
what the mounting
Recommended?
deal on the frame is, a
Okay.
1-inch pipe. I think I could just take a coupler and screw it on there and have them wired in.
Are you familiar with what blend sock is? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, hangar number 8 in the new building has become available for lease. And as you can notice, OG&E's brought out the light poles for the new building. I noticed they dug a trench on the north side of the building. That's as far as they've got. I don't think they were back. They didn't even come and tell me they did. Need to let y'all know that I'll be gone Friday to attend the OAOA quarterly meeting.
Where is it at?
It's in Oklahoma City. That's all I have at this time.
Anyone have any questions for the manager?
This is being the new, remember the new buildings, what are those?
It's the new hangar building that we built down
New
there.
hangars,
There's
okay.
eight individual, 2 hangars.
So is it all full except one then?
For now, yeah.
Right. Do you have
I heard
anybody?
Bob had sold his Satavia, so I haven't got another income working down there.
Do you have any people looking at this time, or anybody on the list?
This time, no, the list has already been gone through. In fact, I need to update it on the long one too.
Okay.
I don't have anybody waiting.
If there are no more questions for the manager, we'll move on to item 6. This time I recognize April Mills from Plain Plastics.
Okay. And I made these up so you guys could kind of have some sort of an idea of what's going on. We have the wonderful honor of being the first stop in the women's air races this year. Here's a couple of brochures from last year. You wanted to see those. We've gone ahead and we've got the 2 main places filled. I'm going to be the start chair, and then Sue Hughes out of Winoka is going to be the timer head. We've been working with Greg. This kind of goes into the different, and I just kind of put a few things in here on these back pages of different things that you might want to read about the air races. We've already turned in all the hotels, the food, all the stuff that she needed there. They've got this diagram that I think that they've sent to you that's not a final, so it can't be published, but they think this is what they're going to go with as far as the measuring of the timing events, which has to be at a 200-foot level, and they thought that they would use this tower. It's in where the yellow tab is. It's kind of got the layout there. I'm not real good at reading all that stuff, so you guys will have to kind of look at it. Like I said, we've been working with Greg. We've got one thing that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. I've arranged, because we're also going to go ahead and do the air show on Friday and Saturday. And Plain Plastics would like to contact all the people that have planes on here ahead of time, so they know what's going on, so they're not hit, like a deer in the headlight. So if there's any possible way that we could possibly get a name of everybody, that we could send them a letter, so they knew, out of common courtesy, what we were going to do.
You're talking about the airport?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a list.
Okay.
I don't have their addresses. but
Oh, that's
you can
fine.
give-
We just feel that they should, we'd like to tell them so they're, so they know, have plenty of time. We arranged with Lance, with Big Slick Graphics, to rent porta potties for the events. If there's any way possible, we've got 50 planes coming in and 100 female pilots. We should have most everybody stop, because we are the first stop. That gives them time to get their measurements and their air speeds and all that good stuff situated. So they pretty much figured we'd have all 100 pilots stop. If there was any possible way to maybe use a men's room during that event as a female's room, so that we've got 2 ladies' restrooms, that would probably be amazing. And put porta potties out for the gentlemen. It's also the 75th year of the WASPs, and so we've got a lot of the older female pilots that are planning on coming in for the event, for the day. So Kenzie's and Plain Plastics are going to do a dinner for them. We're going to have an option of a hot dinner if they want the hot dinner, or a grab and go. They can decide how long they want to stay. Like I told Greg, from what they told us, and it's something that you guys will have to decide, if we are going to use a fuel truck or if we're going to use the pumps, because you have to use either the fuel trucks or the pumps. We can't use both, because everybody has to have the same chance at time-wise. So that's something that you guys will have to decide, and we'll have to go ahead and get that paperwork to them as soon as we can.
How far apart are they usually?
They just boom, boom, boom. They're gonna,
There'd be one right after another.
yeah, and there's times that they can come in 2. I mean, they can come in 2 at a time. They will contact us. They will contact us when they're 10 miles out, when they're 3 miles out, and when they're 1 mile out, so that we have an idea of who's coming in and what. The timers will be set, the head timers will be set up there by us. They like to keep them away from everybody. It will be done with a watch and some computer program that they have. And at that time, after that's all said and done, you'll take the computer inside and you'll go ahead and upload it on the internet, which automatically goes wherever it goes, so that they've got the official numbers on it.
How soon do you have to have the determination on the fueling procedure?
Did she tell you? I mean, we probably got a little bit of time.
Okay.
The race is in June.
Second.
The race is in June.
Oh,
So probably February, March, I'd say March at the latest.
Yeah.
That's when they want to know.
Okay, so it'll give us a little time
Yeah.
to think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And like I told her, that was totally up to you guys, and she understood that. As it sat right now, the paperwork, the preliminary paperwork we put in there, we put no. But I told her that we would discuss it with the board, or we would let the board discuss it and go from there. We are working on, we need to work, and Greg and I are working on that, we need to work on a story about our airport, a little write-up. They're wanting to know about the town around here, the industry that's on it, and then a thing on plain plastics. They're also wanting some high-definition photos. I told him that I would come out and take photos. They'd also like to, some of the people, different people that are on the airport. So, take a picture of the museum, take a picture of, Bob's planes, the spray planes, just a couple different things like that, so they have a vast variety of what we actually have on our airport.
We've got some pretty interesting airplanes.
Kinsey's helicopter would be
Mm-hmm.
really good.
I'd recommend you for the history part of it.
Yeah, you was gonna send me an email as to what you wanted, and then I was gonna write for you. And
Yes,
I never got the
yes.
email.
I'm sorry, I will get that to you tomorrow morning.
Okay, if you do that, then I'll know
Yes,
what
yes.
you want, and because I've got old pictures of the airport as well.
Yeah, and that would,
So-
and then they kind of, like they've got on here, they just kind of want a little bit of a
Right.
background and a write-up of it. And I can give you what Greg had wrote. Like I said, you can take with it and go. What you guys think is,
But
I'm not-
between Greg and Terry and me, and, I mean, we can homogenize.
I think that would be a great idea.
Make a composite deal.
And we've got our stuff, we can throw our little bit in there for plain plastics.
Right.
I think the history of the airport is way more impressive than the history of plain plastics, but that's just me,
Paul probably knows more about that than anybody that I can think of.
So,
Wayne Kinsey would.
Well, you have direct access to it.
I have direct access. If I can catch him on a good day, the stories will go forever, so.
we're also then, that's Tuesday, and then Friday and Saturday, we want to have our fly-in. It starts the 35th year between Kinsey's, the first PMA. So he's the ones that started all of this, so it's 35 years. So this whole year at Plain Plastics, we're gonna go ahead and run with the 35th year, and that's kind of why we're doing this. We've discussed having movies under the stars off of Kinsey's hangar door, and he's volunteered to let the guys and girls kind of have their little oshkosh there, and they can camp under their planes on Friday night. Northwest Tech has offered to shuttle. The rec park has offered to let the pilots shower there. We just kind of want to make this a fun event for the whole town, for everybody. Is kind of what we're wanting to do.
So
Good.
the Friday night thing was kind of a meet and greet. People who wanted to come in early. We got that huge white door on the west side, which I've been to other events. If you've ever been to Blakesburg, the antique airplane fly-in, they have movies under the stars that they do at night on the side of the hangar. And that's perfect for that, and we'll get it set up, and then we have that field north of the building. That's all grass. So we can get that mowed down. It's pretty much free of obstructions and ditches and stuff. and planes can bring their own tie downs and park out through there and spend the night, so, weather permitting,
Yeah,
it would work. And invite townspeople out to come and meet the pilots and
Oh,
see
yeah.
the planes and have popcorn, kinda have a basic buffet
well,
thing.
and Kevin Lacey's coming. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He is actually the gentleman who does airplane repo. He's got that,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, he's gonna come. So he's planning on coming. We're wanting to do an exhibit building, the hangar just north of us, on Friday and Saturday. Rose and Visors is coming, Sims Paint's coming, Wilco's coming. There's several of the big aviation, Oklahoma Aeronautical Commission's coming. They've already said, yeah, they'll be here, they'll bring their stuff, they're set up. So we're just kind of pulling in.
Lots of things to attract.
Good. Good, the more the merrier.
Without having,
So-
having big budget acts, being able to draw in.
So we would be wise to have something prepared as far as opportunities in Alva for folks that come in and,
I've talked with
because
all,
there'd be opportunities for any of these people coming through here to see that, hey, we've got space and we've got opportunities to grow a business here as well.
Well, it's a good time to
Yeah.
promote your restaurants, your hotels, your museums, your university,
Well, if we can grow industry on the airport, that'd be phenomenal.
Good chance. It's one way to get it.
and I have
And
sent,
being that's
oh, I'm sorry.
well, I was saying that it's in the summer, I know the university has like a dunk tank or something like that for kids, and I mean, that's usually a big hit, so if we need to use that.
That would be great, and we've talked about having a kids zone,
Okay.
so that there's stuff for the kids to do also. We are going to, and we've called it the Wings Over the Prairie because it's not just Alva. We've got some of the other close by airports, Winoka, Cherokee, all them.
Anthony, around Buffalo,
Enid.
Nest Launch.
So that we're all kind of together, Friday night, we're going to do a big barbecue dinner for all the volunteers and the pilots that fly in. And then Saturday morning, Kenzie's are gonna do the breakfast, and we're just gonna kind of hit and miss and help each other out. So they'll do the breakfast, the same thing for the pilots and stuff that flew in. Talked about doing the best of show, several best of shows. I think it's a really good idea to allow the pilots that fly in to be the ones that vote on the best of show, so that they could all go around to the planes, and then it's their peers.
Just kind of have a sheet with different categories like antique, Piper, biplane, that thing, and let the people everybody flies in, we have them stick a number in the dash window, and everybody can do their own voting.
Now we're gonna have some kind of trophies for them.
Yes, sir.
Good.
And
You get to sing and dance for the winner.
we actually
Give
have
that
already,
some more thought.
we actually have already had our first $2,000 donation. So the Bankit donated $2,000 the other day for the air show.
Great.
So,
And you've got a couple people
Yes.
lined up for that.
yes. And we have, one of the people that we sponsor is actually, he has Texas T-carts, and he is an aerobatic, and he's gonna come and fly one night.
Oh,
So
good.
he'll do the aerobatics.
Oh, cool.
Great.
That's awesome.
Hopefully we can pull something off without having to spend a whole bunch of money and promote aviation, have an activity in town for
We're
people.
just getting the people here so they can
Have-
see what a fine facility we have.
Have the organizers considered an application to the tourism committee?
I've already got it started, I just have, I've been working with Alex.
Okay.
I just have to set up, going up in front of the board, but yes, sir.
Okay, good. So,
What would you like from us?
Your blessing,
fuel,
like I said, we want your blessing, we'd love to have your help, all your knowledge. we need to all work together. I mean, this is all of us, and we all care about this airport, we all care about this town. That's kind of, you know, we could have gone out and, but we'd like to have everybody involved, everybody that wants to be involved.
Working with Alex as far as making sure the vendors that come in have the appropriate licenses and permits and whatnot.
And I'm glad you said that. Like I said, we're going to do the dinner, the breakfast for the pilots. I've got a list, and I've been going through talking to food trucks, and we want to bring in food trucks for the people that come to see it, so they have food and stuff here also. So we'd like to bring the food trucks in also.
One of the things that I would suggest, or not, just bring up for discussion, we'll essentially have a captive audience for the vendors that come on site. In the past, when the rec park has done similar things, the rec park has taken a percentage of sales as a fee for being able to set up on their property. Something for us to consider. I think we've got some time to do that. I don't know if you've got firm commitments from anybody yet,
I
but
do not.
it would be something that if we did want to consider something like that, we need to let the vendors know up front that that would be part of the expectation.
Okay. And then, in an event like this, in the past, we usually need assistance from the city as far as barricades or cones and some things like that. Is that, I assume that we could still have that avenue of cooperation back and forth.
I would not see any problems or barriers for us being able to work
Sometimes
Public Works on that.
an extra dumpster helps because the trash really starts coming in and we fill up the dumpsters quickly.
I'd say we just need to decide or identify what the needs are
Right.
and make sure we get that list of Public Works in time for them to
And if they could dump,
accommodate us.
we've got the great big one up
Yeah,
here at work.
yeah.
So if it was one of those things that we could have it dumped, you know, a couple times, we could use that one that week. You know,
But
we'd
you-
have to haul it, but
Well, but if the city.
We can increase.
If you have spare those roll-around dumpsters, those little ones that you're buying, it'd be neat if we could set like 4 or 5 of those around down here for people to. That would make it easy, because let me tell you what, I've employed more than 2 guys doing nothing but hauling trash sacks around at events like this.
yeah, and it's kind of one of those things like, you know, we could invite like the 4-H kids in, or the basketball kids in, or, you know, different groups if they wanted to do different things. We'd really, like I said, we'd really like it to be open, you know, where it's not just 1 or 2 people making the thing. We'd like it to be a whole town event.
Community.
Well, this is going right along, when I first found out about the flying, and this is going right along the same lines as what I'd hoped to have seen, because I'd like to just blow this up huge, make a huge deal out of it.
And the race will kind of kick off that week,
Yeah.
and if we're fortunate, we may get a speaker or 2 in, maybe be at Graceful Arts, like on Wednesday night or Thursday night, and talk about something, and then Friday night, get planes in here Friday afternoon, your vendors will probably start showing up Friday.
And Thursday, I forgot to mention that we've got the Young Eagles coming. So there we'll do
Airplane rides.
free airplane rides all day
Oh,
long
really?
for the
great.
kids.
Last
8
time
to
we
Oh,
did
fifteen.
that's awesome.
It was 30 kids out here,
Mhm.
and we had, and interestingly enough, the majority of them was from Winoka that time.
Really?
So maybe we'll hit it where more Alva kids can.
Well, we'll need to make sure that we've got all of this information with the Visit Alva group, so that it's
Yeah.
on all of our social media stuff.
I've also talked to Red Carpet.
And
So, I mean,
that's-
I talked to everybody and that's like I said, that's why I wanted to come to you guys, and I wanted to come to you guys early so that you kind of had an idea of what was going on. And we'd really like y'all's blessing, you know, we'd like to work with everybody in making a good event for
You
everyone.
got mine.
Oh, yeah.
Do we make a motion that we, not necessarily approve the events, but that we, pledge our cooperation, support with them?
It's not an action item on our agenda.
Yeah, it is. Discussion and action concerning the 42nd Annual Air Race Classic and
Oh.
Flying Air Show event. Number
Okay,
8.
I was looking at number 6. So okay.
So that's an actionable item.
Okay, yeah, when we get there, now technically we could go there now. Okay.
Yeah, because we tabled or we bypassed number 7.
Mhm. Chairman, can we move to number 8?
Are you finished with your presentation?
Unless y'all have any questions, I am.
I think,
I would, I'm sorry, not to interrupt. I recommend that you come back at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Give us
And
all
then,
day.
and that way we can continue the coordination.
Okay. Is there anything that you guys would like me to work on between now and then?
I have a question is, would you like for us to identify one of us as a contact for you in between meetings?
That would be fine. And Paul and I have been working,
so I was
With it
gonna
also,
recommend-
yeah.
I would recommend Paul, if it's all right with you.
I'm pulling him along,
I'll
kicking
point
and
you.
screaming.
That's fine.
Paul,
Because I have, except for, it's
Caleb.
Caleb, I have everybody's email where when we talk, I can send out something and let you, and feed your questions back to her.
Send it to Joe Don,
Send it to Joe Don.
And I don't-
and then we got our open meeting stuff, open record stuff.
And I
taken
don't
care
know
of.
if you guys Facebook, but we did go ahead and start, I haven't opened it up to anybody, but it's in this paperwork. So if you wanted to go in, we're gonna kinda keep what's going on and open it up here in the next week or so that we
Okay.
can have a Facebook page for it also.
I like your idea of getting the community participation thing. Sometimes the FA, I know at Freedom at the Old Callahan's feed, the FFA members will help serve or
That would be fun,
something
yeah.
like that.
And we've got, a lot of the EAA members, and let's call a spade. We've got a lot of friends, we've got a lot of people that we've known that do business with us and have for years and years, and I mean, they're jumping at the bits. We've got EAA from Shawnee, we've got them from Oklahoma City that are wanting to come park claims. I've had an email from a lady who's in Arkansas who used to race, and she wants to come down to work the air race. I mean, it's just kind of went nuts.
Just to be able to visit with her would be interesting.
Yes, and what I think would be kind of neat, have to be something, is if we could have like a little VIP section someplace out here by the terminal that day, because like I said, I think that there'll be a lot of the 99s that show up, which are the lady pilots.
Right.
And most of them are like in their 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, and a lot of them are talking about wanting to come.
I'll bet they will. Their headquarters is in Oklahoma City.
Yes, sir? Yeah.
Just, and some people, I've heard some complaints in corners about the date, but we didn't set the date. The air race set the date.
Air race set
That's
the
right.
date.
We don't
And
have any
we
choice.
decided just to expand upon that.
And I think that's fine. It does,
So,
I was looking for, there's gonna be conflicts in town, but I know that the PD's big Pack the Park thing is the week before. So I don't have anything on my calendar for that week.
The only thing that would be a problem is gonna be harvest, and who knows?
Harvest and weather.
I mean, yeah, who knows, and that was one thing that we had talked about with one of them that was concerned about it. My son-in-law farms, my daughter works at the co-op. I mean, during harvest, they're gone, I understand. But like he said, this was a good opportunity, and you might as well throw it in and put it in at the same time.
Absolutely. Anyone have any more questions?
I was curious, is there potential that they'll want to make us a stop next year on
I
their
don't
race
think
as
so.
well?
They
rotate it
changes
around
from
quite a
year to year,
bit.
But I can tell you, I have visited with the Pratt airport manager. He did it several years ago, and he said, we went out, we did it right. He said they had such a great time that they've been knocking on our door to come back. And they came back within 3 years, I
Yeah.
think it was. So he says, you do it right, he says, they will remember it.
And they also, one of the cool things is they have the pilots that are flying in get to vote on their favorite stop. And that's with food, that's with hospitality, whether they're in
Yeah.
costumes.
Pratt got voted a favorite stop for them, so that's one thing that they consider.
We're gonna be,
On,
being the first stop, we've got,
You're talking
work
50
cut out for us.
planes from all over the US. There's 2 people in each plane.
and
so-
Canada, isn't it? Is Canada in
Yeah,
that too?
I think so. So I mean, it's a big it gets the word out.
But on this page right here, there's a graphic, which is the graphic that we're going to go with as far as what we're wanting to do for the first stop in the air races. And we are going to do a commemorative, that's it, coin, that will have the same graphic on it. And then the big graphic like that on the back of the shirt for the air races to give to all the ladies.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's nice.
so,
It's just a great opportunity to promote Alva at the airport.
Absolutely.
What, and we have plenty of time to, I guess, take into consideration any of the things, I mean, you that had been associated with flying, big fly-ins like this in the past, I mean, what are the other, do we need to see about, hotel rooms and shuttles and stuff like that?
I've pretty much got all that worked. I've already talked to the hotels about getting
Blocks
discounts,
and
and
discounts.
like I said, Northwest Tech offered to shuttle. I'm really wanting to do,
You did say that.
I'm
I
wanting
was
to,
listening.
I'm wanting to do and I've talked to the college and I've talked to the VOTEC. I'm wanting to do like a photo contest, graphic contest, where they've got them around doing pictures and where they can upload them. So we've got pictures coming in from several different directions, and the winning photo, whoever decides to vote on it, would get a plaque. Just some different things like that. Just different things that we can bring the kids in. We can bring the graphic programs in. We can bring the photography people in. We've got a college, we've got a VOTEC, we've got a high school. We need to utilize it.
That's great.
I think
you're doing
even,
a tremendous
Thank
job.
you.
I think even at that time, we've got, the university has the Upward Bound
Yes.
camp program going
Yes.
on at that time, so we've got kids here from 5 or 6 different
They
communities that'll
come,
be on
Upward
campus.
Bound comes every year to tour the building too,
Yeah,
so.
so that'll be a good event for them.
So April will start pulling people together, I think, October, September, and we've met a couple of times, and things keep evolving, because we send out fingers, we're trying to decide what we wanted to accomplish and do, and it's kind of getting down now where she's getting a firm idea as to what's going to happen, so we can be a little more aggressive with what our needs are.
Well, as far as pushing and publicizing some of this information through those programs with all those extra kids and stuff that are on campus and stuff, that'd be great to push that. We can do
Well,
that.
and like I said, we need to use them.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
so that's kind of where we were sitting at. We just, like I said, we don't want this to be our thing. We want it to be our thing.
I think you're doing a good job of that. That's good.
Well, I make a motion to, for the airport board to be involved, and recommend, and appoint Paul Kinsey to be our representative for the 42nd Annual Air Race Classic and Fly-In Air Show event.
Excuse me.
Did you catch that, Lisa?
Yes, the recorder did.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. That we, I'll call a question. I'll let you repeat the motion. Okay,
I'll let
anyway, we're
Kelly
gonna support, the,
That the airport board support and appoint Paul Kinsey to be our representative for the 42nd Annual Air Race Classic and Fly-In Air Show event.
very good. I've had a motion and a second. Quick, call a roll, please.
Parker,
Yes.
Mossberg,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes,
Turner.
Yes.
you're stuck with
Thank
Thank you
you
very
very
much.
Well, thank you for
Appreciate
your
it.
time. And my card's on there with my email and all that. If you guys ever have any questions or anything, just give me a holler.
Okay.
All right? Y'all have a great night.
Thank
We'll move on to item 9, discussion and action on the purchase of a jump start unit for aircraft use. What do you recommend, Greg?
I would recommend going with this one that you presented to us at the last meeting, Terry.
That was that $3,000?
I think it's 30, can't remember.
Is there a reason
You've
for
got
that one?
$3,150 on
Yeah,
sale till December 21st, originally, what, 3,500?
I contacted them and I told them that we wanted a unit that we could use on 12-volt aircraft and 28-volt systems, and that we could also use on vehicles. That was portable and it can stay on a charger. And what he recommended that particular unit, and it's an aircraft, you know, certified for aircraft, so I feel that we're safe if there's any liability. Plus, I recommended to Greg that he let the pilot hook it up. That way, he can supervise it or watch it, but that way we lose the liability. And he can get like a hand cart or to put it on, have it mounted on that so that it can just wheel it out. And in the meantime, it's plugged in and rechargeable.
Where would we keep something like that?
I think that's small enough we could keep it here in the town facility. And it only weighs 35 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it.
Do we,
Portable enough that a guy could just pick it up and carry it.
there's a question, does the city keep a list of their tools, assets, property,
Yes,
by department and stuff?
yes. And we would wanna,
Because my concern is in the distant past, there's been things that's been acquired that's no longer around. And that's pretty expensive. And at 35 pounds, it can disappear. Now, I'm not saying it would, but there's potential. And so then my follow-up question is, obviously we're getting this for problems of, people coming in for an event or spending the night or passing through or something. Do we set up, is this a freebie service that we provide to people on the airport if they need something like that? Or do we rent it out to them?
I think, in my opinion, it should be available to anybody on the airport. Tax dollars are paid for it. We got taxpayers out there. I hate to charge them. I think.
But we charge them for fuel. And we own the power.
and we give them hangar rent, basically. I don't care if we give it away, but I don't want to do it under the auspices that it's being paid for by their tax dollars, because that's really not the case.
I don't want to get in a situation to where it's always out of here, it's never accounted for, and it's always in somebody else's hands.
Well, it's primarily, the primary reason is for the jets.
I
I'm
think
not
if,
a jet pilot myself, but I understand that the weekend man said he had several calls from jet airplanes. Evidently, it's a real drag on the starter, and they like to have a power unit. And they could start it without draining their own batteries. And to me, that's another tiebreaker. They're asking if we had one. Well, it's primarily for use on the airport, for airplanes on the airport. If the fuel truck won't start, we've got something that he has readily accessible, can be kept in his office, and I think that it would be pretty safe in the office. We're not always attended 100% of the time, but there's enough people around. And if it's stenciled on their property of Alva Airport with a number on it to identify it if it disappears, I don't see a problem. But I really, in my opinion, I think we need it, and I'd like to promote as much jet traffic as we could. Probably 2 Phillips of some of these jets would pay for it.
I think we need it, I think we need a policy on its use. Because I share Paul's concern that if we don't have a policy on how it's used or who uses it, we all of a sudden may,
Well, I have no argument with that.
and
I
that's
think you're absolutely
protect
correct.
our investment and is with the policy on who uses it and under what circumstances.
Certainly.
Because you can go to Aircraft Spruce and get the same thing for $600. For the jet.
Really? I looked at aircraft first, and the one that I looked at didn't go both ways, and it,
No, it doesn't.
But
I
if
said
you can-
but I mean, it's primary for the jets. I mean, you see what I'm saying for the investment? I mean, if we're concerned for just the jets.
well, to me, Paul, if you got a 310 out here
Mhm.
with a 12-volt system, well, you can buy two of them from Aircraft Spruce. You can't get one that does both.
Right, but even two are still cheaper than 3,500, 3,100.
Sure they are. But again, I'm not convinced that, I think you get what you pay for. It's all these people do. And I think we're making a mistake if we poor boy it. That's my
What are they
opinion.
doing at other airports? What are they using at other airports to?
A lot of airports don't have them.
No, but the ones that do.
I have no way of knowing. I have not contacted any other airports to see.
Do you know, Greg?
I do
Well, you know, the bigger airports, they have
not.
engine-driven power units where they plug them in, take care of the air conditioning. We discussed that one time, we decided that was too expensive. Because we were talking probably $10,000 or $12,000. But you're gonna spend $1,800 instead of $3,500. And you're gonna have two units. Whatever the board desires. But I would recommend something of this nature. I don't have any stock in the company.
Oh, I'm not worried about that. I don't want to spend any more than necessary, but I do think it's necessary.
Well,
Can we?
I feel like this, excuse me, I feel like this company would stand behind their unit and have the capability to provide parts. Aircraft Spruce is a drop shipment person. They buy it from somebody else and resell it. I believe these people, I think they manufacture, I'm not positive. But anyway, it's whatever you desire. That's their only business.
Would it be difficult for us to find out what other airports are using before we spend?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Would it be difficult for us to find out what others are using, see what has worked best for them?
Well, Marlin is not, I don't know if Woodward would have one. Anthony isn't. We'd have to go to, and Indian is a big enough airport that they've probably got a $10,000 power unit. I guess Woodward, maybe Guthrie might have.
Who's going to be at your OAOA meeting? Is there people you can ask around when you're there?
Usually the guy from Woodbury is not there. I was thinking Ponca City, that guy is usually not there. Usually the manager from Guthrie is there,
But
the one from Grove.
What else did you look at when you looked through the?
Just nothing really comparable to this.
I looked at several. I looked at Aircraft Spruce. I looked at Sporties, the usual suppliers. But these guys, go do the whole, they cover the waterfront from United Airlines down. And I think that we'll have something that will last. I just don't trust stuff from,
I mean, I haven't gone to the meeting Friday, I can ask around and see.
I mean, I'm not against something that
What do you guys
lasts
do?
or something that's expensive. My concern is that it's taken care of and used
that
properly.
one,
I said, my concern is that it's used properly and that it's taken care of, and that it's not hogged by one or two people on the airport.
well,
You
That will
understand
be-
what I'm saying? I mean, that's my concern.
I don't see anyone that would do that.
We are obligated to make sure of that by just making, I mean, we have an obligation to not make that assumption, but put it in policy so that it doesn't happen. Because we might not have anybody now, but there might be somebody later.
Well, I agree that it definitely needs to be a policy and a priority.
Paul, was
They'd have to go through.
what you had information on, is the same specs?
I mean, I would just kinda look at it, because, I mean, $3,500 for a battery charger or an APU, seemed excessive for what we were looking at. I mean, my feelings might be different if this was back when the oil thing was heavy, when we were averaging a plane a day into here. How many jets a week do we average in here now? One?
Maybe 1 every 2 weeks.
We went, so back then we were doing one a day. And I would have seen, a more urgent need at that point for that. But we have one every 2 weeks, and then that time could come back.
Is it something where we start out with something that's more cost effective, and as demand increases, we look at upgrading our equipment?
I get, it's the chicken or the egg. I get, to me, maybe not to everybody else, even dealing with airplanes and jets and stuff, $3,100 is still $3,100. Regardless how much money we have sitting in the bank. And I'm not against spending it. I'm not against spending something that's gonna last or be serviced and be around for 20, 25 years. If in fact it will still be here in 20 years, and in fact it still works.
Well,
That's my concern.
20 years, I think, is probably a stretch these days.
So, but I mean.
I know what you're saying,
hypothetically, So that's where I'm coming from. If we're spending $3,000 and in 4 years, nobody out here can find it, we change airport managers, the board's changed over, I come down here because I need a 20-volt thing and nobody knows where it's at, then I'm a little concerned about spending that kind of money. Because one of the weaknesses out here that's been for the last few years is when we change leadership, whether it be employed or the board, there is always a loss, not necessarily material items, but there is a loss of knowledge to some degree. And you're trying to combat that with a book like this, where you have that information, but there's a lack of continuity at times and things slip through the cracks.
Oh, I know.
And that's why I'm concerned, that's the reason my question is it's hard to misplace a fuel truck and big items, but when you start getting into expensive
35-pound.
35-pound, things that can, and we get a lot of traffic, we're not fenced in, there's a lot of traffic through here.
Well, in the 2 year recommending are $800 a piece, so that'd be $1,600 we'd lose it when somebody steals it and it says $3,500. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no,
Well,
I'm not
just
saying that they steal it, I'm just saying that there's, how often would we actually use, are we gonna get the $3,500 out of it during its lifespan?
I think in two loads of jet fuel, I think we'll pay for it. How much we make on 1,000 gallons of jet fuel?
50 cents a
50
gallon.
cents a gallon, it'd be $500,
Okay,
so we pay,
say
Seven.
7 loads.
That's all,
but part of that has to pay his salary and the utilities. We're not even making budget now, without the oil wells, we're not even making our budget now.
Did we not get $18,000 this month?
without the oil wells, we do not make our budget.
That's sales.
If the oil wells go down, we cannot make our budget with what we generate on this.
Okay, well, then, let's move on, let's either do it or get off. I think it's, is there any more discussion? I would entertain a motion for one or the other. Did we agree to, or not, to buy one?
If there's no motion, it'll just die.
Pardon?
If there's no motion, it'll just die.
Right, I understand, that's what I'm waiting on. No motion, okay. Item 10, discussion and action on the purchase of an ice maker for the airport terminal. Any discussion?
Has anything changed since last meeting?
I don't think so. You keep ice, do you rotate it every once in a while if you don't use it?
Yep, every couple months or so.
Okay.
So when we had the flying breakfast, we were taking more than that, because I use it and buying new ones.
That's every month.
Yeah, that's every month.
The winter time, of course, doesn't use as much ice.
Any discussion? If not, then we'll move on to item 11. Discussion and action on the repairs and painting of the airport terminal.
I've contacted a couple of painters. I've had trouble contacting a couple of others. I'm still trying to contact them, but I'm awaiting estimates right now. I don't have any estimates. As I've gotten back to it.
Waiting on for,
Waiting on
okay,
the quotes, yes.
Move we table action until next meeting?
yes.
I'll move we table action until next meeting.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Parker,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Mossberg.
Yes.
We'll move on to item 12. Discussion and action on the development of a committee to update the ODO project list for future, FAA funded projects. I would suggest
I'd
Paul,
serve on that committee.
pardon me,
I said I would serve on that
good,
committee.
appoint Paul,
I'd appoint Dale, even though he's not here, to stick up for himself.
and I'll appoint Dale. 2 members should be enough, shouldn't it?
Yeah. So,
Don't need a motion on that, do we? Okay, I'll move on to item 13, remarks and inquiries by airport board members.
One thing that I should have mentioned earlier is that presently the Woods County Economic Development Committee is and the Turkey Hunt Committee specifically, the Lieutenant Governor's Turkey Hunt, they're preparing their list of invitees for the turkey hunt. If anybody is aware of anybody that we could be recruiting to, whether it's the airport or otherwise, to bring business to Alva, Woods County, let me know and I can get them on our list of people to invite, and we can get them or a representative of their company to come up and join us for the turkey hunt. A lot of things happen out of that. A lot of business contacts are made every year with that, and over the years it's been responsible for fostering a lot of economic development in the community. So if you have anybody that we can should be thinking about inviting, let me know.
Can I make any inquiries on that?
You may.
Is that for sure? Just as a side note, you may have already caught them. In the table of contents, you got 2 misspelled words, building and chapter. And then I was curious, the map that's in there that you that you show, the outline, not the service area, but the impact area.
Mhm.
How was that chosen? How
That-
was that drawn?
That is, all comes from Department of Commerce. They've identified a service area, primary area for our community, a market area, if you will. And that is all metrics developed by the Department of Commerce.
So I guess my follow-up, I'm educating myself, so my follow-up question then is that it goes like almost to Fairview and darn near up to Medicine Lodge. How does that impact their service areas? I mean, what's the overlap? I mean, when you see that, and you see those towns out around, I mean, you assume that those towns have a service area too.
They do.
And then there's an overlap, and so,
It'll be, I think,
I mean, is this drawn with that in consideration, or I mean, the person that's right inside the blue line, that's inside the service area for Alva, what would keep them going the 10 miles to Fairview as opposed to 40 miles an hour? You see what I'm saying?
it'd be what we offer.
Okay.
It is what they deem as a reasonable geographic area for Alva to attract business, people to move, tourism, the whole gamut of commerce. They believe that's a reasonable area to expect people to travel in order to use Alva for what they use it for.
And it's just such screwy lines, I couldn't figure out how they
It's,
arrived at some of that.
there's things going on in Fairview that aren't going on in Alva,
Mhm.
that people aren't necessarily going to drive from Alva to Fairview to get those, but it's just a kind of a guideline for demographic knowledge of our area, so that when we look at, and that geographic boundary is the basis for the data that's
Right,
It's in
well, I mean, I assume that. I was just wondered how they arrived at that boundary, because it's drawn so screwy. I mean, when you got little snake legs out there, like down in through here, I mean.
well, part of it's algorithms and
you know,
whatnot.
so
I mean,
it was,
If I lived in Fairview, I'd probably go to Enid.
so it was I was just
people
curious.
in Enid go to Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City goes to Dallas.
Well, I think Enid would be closer
But then,
than Alva.
like on this page here, since it's not numbered, I don't know which one it is. Sorry, I didn't do that.
I'll move it.
Good catch. So you have like households, average household income, median housing value. Why didn't we stay with median household income with median housing value?
We didn't choose these.
I'm just curious, did they offer an explanation? Because it's odd, because most everything I've seen, any data that I've ever used, there was always median as opposed to average, because a few numbers can screw the values of an average as opposed to the median. When I'm looking at the median, I know there's an equal number above as below. And here, for example, on the average household income, they're showing the 78,000. If you go back and it's in your data back here, the median is 58,000.
And you go down to the average salary, it's 37,000.
And so then,
I'm not following your question.
so,
Both pieces of data are there.
but on separate pages. But I'm sitting here, I mean, if I was somebody coming into town, and you was presenting me data with why I should move here, why I should, this is the service area that I can attract from, this is the income level, this is the data that I'm working from. And I'm looking at this, it looks like, wow, the average household income is $78,000.
Wow.
That's pretty good. I mean, looking at that. When in reality, I don't know, I mean, the average income here, let's say maybe one person won that $450 million lottery. that screws the average. You see what I'm saying?
I understand.
As opposed to the median income, which is 58,000, which I know 50% is above that, 50% is below that, and that tells me what I can expect to pay for labor, what I can expect, as disposable income. You see what I'm saying?
No,
And so I was just curious as to why they chose those. I mean, why they chose to show average household against median housing value, because it looks pretty good when your average household income is higher than your median housing value. See what I'm saying?
this is information for us to use as board members,
Mhm.
various boards throughout our community. When we look at decisions that we're going to make and how we need to depend on the economics of our community or the demographics of our community and what occurs in our service area, this is information we can use or not in order to help us make good decisions. The city of Alva did not choose these parameters.
No.
We understand,
And
I understand
we
that.
understand,
And so
but if it's not accurate,
it is accurate.
I don't think.
Well, I'm not complaining about the accuracy. I'm just saying.
But if we can find in here all of those numbers,
Right.
there's a ton of information here. And with that information, if we can't find what we're looking for in order to make a good decision, then we need more information. But this is a report that's available to us through the Department of Commerce, which we can access and use if it makes sense.
Right, that this IntelliView put together for you, right?
Yeah, it was put together for us.
Synergies,
And so I thought maybe they had my point is, I was wondering if there was a logic behind showing the average household income against like the median housing value. I mean, why did they choose medians in some places and averages in others?
I couldn't tell you.
I mean, rather than having a consistency, I didn't know if there was a logic behind that.
I couldn't tell you.
And then, I guess the other one is I don't know what maps they use. I checked several online, and then I actually figured it. They showed their distance to Wichita, as 187 miles. It's 114. Sometimes that's important. Like when we were playing plastics, for example, a lot of their supplies comes out of Wichita.
It probably just depends on
And,
which direction they travel to get there.
well, if you go through Great Bend, or even taking the long route, it was like, and there's 100 miles there, and Amarillo's 240 as opposed to 323. So I was just
It's not
curious.
meant to supplant our existing knowledge.
Right. Okay. But so I was just curious as to.
And that's part of the explanation that when we go through the presentation, this is not meant to supplant the things that we already know to be true. This is algorithm, this is, data compilation, this is whatever Alteryx is. They have a formula that the Department of Commerce uses to spit out general reports that are widely used by people seeking to, pursue development in communities. So I'm not going to say it's the best information out there, but it is commonly used by the Department of Commerce. If we are aware of better information, we would certainly. Part of it is the city of Alva, and most cities our size, can't. It's not cost effective for us to compile this data on our own, so we are dependent upon an outside entity to compile it for us at a reasonable cost. Studies like this to get this information and get it on an annual basis are cost prohibitive for our town.
Right.
And so I'm not going to be able to tell you that we could get a better report in front of you for what we're able to spend on a report like this. But I can tell you that this is industry accepted as reliable mostly, but it's not going to supplant our local knowledge of our situation. There are going to be...
I guess one of my concerns is if this is put into a packet and hand it to prospective?
This is not put into
Or is this
This
only
is-
being passed to the boards and to the
well, I
city
don't,
council?
the Department of Commerce probably does hand this out to prospective businesses, and we have no control over that.
Right,
But we do know
but I mean,
that they're using it.
So,
Well, I mean-
so the State Department of Commerce used this company for all communities in the state of Oklahoma or
At least communities our size,
our side?
and probably more. That would be an assumption on my part, but I know that our Economic Development Office does not compile this information and does not have a separate contract to do so with anybody.
no, I understand, but I didn't know how far this information went as presented by the city of Alva to prospective. I mean,
We're presenting this to our boards and commission members to help them have an awareness of
right,
our
okay,
demographics and our service areas and our numbers, in order to help us make decisions. So if we're looking at something that is going to require us to have a knowledge of median household income, and we don't have it in here, we're gonna go out and get the median household income. We can get individual statistics, but if we're going to get a generally accepted, demographic report for the Alva area, we're going to have a report like this.
okay.
Whether it's from this company or some other company, it's what it's, I mean, it's meant to be a general guideline
Okay,
and not to supplant any of our local knowledge of where the deviations are.
okay,
Because there will be deviations in this information.
right.
Any more questions or comments by citizens or members of the board? If not, then this meeting's adjourned.